It was a Tuesday in Brooklyn. Ordinary. Unremarkable. The kind of day that slips by unnoticed, blending into the fabric of city life. People hurried past each other, lost in their own thoughts. The city's rhythm steady and familiar. The sun dipped behind brick buildings, casting long shadows across the sidewalks. City sounds, car horns, distant laughter, the hum of conversation filled the air, creating a symphony unique to Brooklyn at dusk. Emily Carter left her apartment for a quick errand, yellow tote in hand. She moved with purpose, her steps light, as if she'd done this 100 times before. The world outside felt safe, routine. Jess, her roommate, remembered the jingle of Emily's heavy keys. Apartment, building, parents' house, a forgotten post office box. Each key told a story, a piece of Emily's life, clinking together in a familiar melody. Emily called out a goodbye, promising to be back in 10 minutes. Her voice was casual, confident, echoing down the hallway as the door swung shut behind her. The door shut, the city swallowed her up. She blended into the crowd, just another face among many, her yellow tote a small splash of color in the evening rush. She passed familiar faces, nearly at the corner shop, but she never arrived. The world kept moving, unaware that something had shifted. 10 minutes stretched to an hour. No milk, no bread, no Emily. The groceries she'd promised to bring home remained a list on the fridge, untouched. Jess's texts went unanswered, calls to voicemail. Each ring felt heavier, the silence on the other end growing more ominous with every attempt. Emily's phone sat charging on her bedside table. It was as if she'd meant to return any minute. Her life paused mid-sentence, the first piece that didn't fit. A detail out of place in an otherwise ordinary day, the beginning of a puzzle no one wanted to solve. In a city of millions, it's easy to disappear. The crowd moves on, faces blur, and stories are lost in the noise. But Emily Carter seemed to vanish into thin air, leaving only the echo of her keys. The sound lingered in Jess's memory, a haunting reminder of what was missing. The city moved on, indifferent. Life continued, relentless, as if nothing had changed at all. Jess waited, hope fading with each hour. She watched the clock, willing time to reverse, to bring Emily back through the door. The silence in the apartment grew heavier. Every creak and sigh of the old building felt amplified, echoing the absence that now filled the space. The jingle of keys was gone, replaced by questions. Each unanswered question weighed on Jess, turning the familiar into something strange. The last ordinary Tuesday had become a mystery. Day turned to night and the apartment felt colder, the shadows longer. The puzzle had only just begun. Every detail, every memory became a clue, a thread to follow in the search for answers. In Brooklyn, sometimes the smallest sound is the one you remember. The jingle of keys, a laugh in the hallway, a promise to return. And sometimes it's the last thing you ever hear, a sound that lingers, echoing long after the person is gone. The first day was panic. Calls, messages, no answers. Jess contacted everyone she could think of, her voice growing more desperate with each unanswered ring. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening, a void that seemed to swallow hope. No one had seen Emily. Friends, neighbors, even the barista at her favorite cafe shook their heads, concern etched on their faces. It was as if Emily had vanished into thin air, leaving no trace behind. The police filed a report, but their questions felt routine, almost mechanical. Jess watched as the officer scribbled details, her anxiety mounting with every tick of the clock. Detective Marcus Thorne arrived, skeptical but thorough. He moved through the apartment with practiced eyes, noting every detail, but his demeanor suggested he'd seen this before. He expected a runaway, not a mystery. To him, missing persons usually had simple explanations, arguments, secrets, a desire to disappear. Then, 2 days later, Jess found Emily's keys, centered on the coffee table, perfectly aligned as if placed with intention. They hadn't been there before. Jess was sure. She'd searched the apartment a dozen times, and the keys had simply appeared, mocking her efforts. The apartment had been locked. Only Jess had the other key, and she hadn't left it out of her sight. The locks were solid, the door always double-checked. Detective Thorne suggested stress, but Jess knew better. She could feel it in her bones. Something was wrong, something that logic couldn't explain. The keys were a taunt, a clue left in plain sight. They seemed to whisper that the answer was close. but just out of reach. The next day, Jess found the apartment door ajar. A chill ran down her spine as she realized she hadn't left it that way. Nothing stolen, but Emily's window was wide open, curtains billowing in the cold morning air. It was as if someone or something had come and gone without a sound. Police found no prints, no forced entry. Every surface was clean, untouched, as if the apartment itself had erased the evidence. The locks weren't picked. The landlord's spare was untouched, still hanging on its hook, gathering dust. The paradox: keys inside, door unlocked. It made no sense. The more they tried to explain it, the deeper the mystery became. The case shifted, no longer a simple disappearance. Detective Thorne's skepticism faded, replaced by a growing sense of unease. The apartment felt different, as if it was hiding something. Shadows seemed to linger longer, corners felt colder. Detective Thorne sensed it too. He paused, listening to the silence, feeling the weight of the unknown pressing in. The ordinary had become impossible. What once felt safe was now uncanny. Every object a potential clue. The silence in the apartment was now a presence. It pressed in on Jess, heavy and watchful, as if the walls themselves were listening. The keys, the door, the cold air, none of it fit. Each detail contradicted the last, forming a puzzle with no solution. The mystery deepened, and the apartment seemed to hold its breath. Jess felt watched, unsettled. Every creak and whisper made her heart race. Detective Thorne realized this was no ordinary case. He felt the story shifting beneath his feet, the rules changing. The apartment was part of the story now. Its walls held secrets, and its silence was a language all its own. And it wasn't giving up its secrets easily. Jess and Detective Thorne both knew, whatever had happened here, the answers were waiting, hidden in plain sight, just beyond the open door. To understand the disappearance, you had to understand Emily. Outwardly bright and creative, she'd grown anxious and withdrawn. Jess noticed the changes, triple-checking locks, nightmares, listening for sounds no one else heard. Emily whispered about the apartment watching her, saw shadows, heard things. She became private, shutting out talk of her ex, Ethan. She spent hours alone, sometimes whispering to herself. Jess suggested therapy. Emily refused. Looking back, Jess saw the warning signs: anxiety, paranoia, fear of the dark. She never imagined it would end like this. Now the whispers were gone, replaced by a silence Jess couldn't escape. Detective Thorne turned to the cameras for answers, hoping the city's ever-watchful eyes would reveal what no witness could. In a world where every movement is recorded, he believed the truth must be somewhere in the footage. Security footage showed Emily leaving at 6:15 p.m., yellow tote in hand, her steps calm and purposeful. She didn't look back, didn't hesitate, just walked out as if it were any other evening. But the deli's camera, her supposed destination, never captured her arrival. It was as if she'd simply disappeared before reaching the door. She vanished between two cameras, less than 100 yards apart, on a busy street where someone should have seen something. Thorne's team scoured footage from every angle, rewinding and replaying, searching for any sign of Emily or a clue to her fate. But there was nothing. It was as if she'd become invisible, erased from the city's memory in the space between two frames. Jess recounted Emily's fears, the keys left behind, the open door that made no sense. Every detail seemed to raise more questions. The story sounded unreal, but the evidence was worse. No prints but Emily's, no clues, no sign of a struggle or forced entry. How could she vanish so completely, leaving behind only confusion and silence? The case file grew thicker with every passing day, but the mystery only deepened, each new page adding to the puzzle. The city's cameras saw everything, every face, every movement, except what mattered most. The real story was hidden in the shadows, just beyond the reach of the lens where secrets lingered unseen. Thorne felt he was chasing a ghost, haunted by questions with no answers and evidence that led nowhere. The truth remained just out of sight, always a step ahead, waiting to be uncovered in the darkness. With no leads, Thorne dug into the apartment's past. Number 4B had a reputation. Tenants left quickly, spooked by unease and strange noises. Stories of being watched, of whispers in the night went back decades. One tenant's child spoke of Silas in the walls. Emily had researched the building's history. She found a story of a watchmaker who vanished from the same apartment in the 1920s. The pattern was undeniable. Emily was drawn to the apartment's mysteries, but they became her own. The flickering lights, the shadows, the sense of being watched, others had felt it too. The apartment was a constant, a silent witness to disappearances. The mystery of Emily Carter was now inseparable from the mystery of 4B. Every missing person case looks at the ex, Ethan Cross. Charismatic but controlling and obsessive, Ethan had a history of not letting go. He claimed an alibi and it checked out, but Thorne's instincts were uneasy. Ethan's search history revealed blueprints of the building, hidden passages, and disappearances. Emily's parents hired a private investigator, Frank Miller, who found a link between Ethan and the building. Miller vanished before he could reveal it. His car was found near Willow Street. Ethan's shadow loomed over the case, but nothing could be proven. The danger felt closer than ever. The case blurred the line between crime and the uncanny. A detective found a hidden switch in the basement, wired to Emily's bedroom lights. Someone could have tormented her, and Ethan had the knowledge. But it didn't explain the impossible. The keys, the door, the vanishing. Then enhanced footage showed a flickering figure in a car window reflection, standing behind Emily before both vanished. Was it a glitch or something more? The evidence contradicted itself. Human malice or something stranger? Thorne wondered if Ethan was a criminal or just another pawn. The apartment's darkness offered no answers, only more questions. Years passed. The case was never solved. Ethan moved away, suspicion forever attached. 4B saw new tenants, none staying long. Detective Thorne, now retired, was haunted by the case. He replayed the facts, searching for what he missed. Jess moved out, unable to bear the memories. Every year, Thorne returned to Willow Street, watching the window as night fell. It was a vigil for Emily, a question with no answer. The city kept its secrets. The apartment remained silent. And somewhere between a locked door and a set of keys, the paradox endured.